Hello and welcome. My name is Faz Kareem. We're transitioning from Office 2010 to 2019. And I want to go ahead and show you guys and gals all what's new and what's in store for us and how we can benefit from using the newest and latest features of Office 2019. Now we did do quite a big jump and we transitioned from Office 2010, so we skipped out on 2013, 2016, and here we are in 2019, the latest version. Now there are a lot of great products inside the Office suite that we have to cover today. Let's go ahead and show you what we're going to talk about. Now inside of Office 2019, this webinar is going to be about 60 minutes, not too long. But I want to go ahead and discuss the newest features of Microsoft Word, that word processor we use. Certain features like track changes, comments to go ahead and encourage collaboration, as well as features such as checking compatibility to make sure that we're using the newest file type and all the latest features work. Now hopefully my accountants and all my Excel people there are in store for some pretty nifty spreadsheet tools. Microsoft has enhanced how the spreadsheet works, and there is some great tools like Flash Fill that we're going to cover, as well as some great enhancements to the pivot table that we're going to talk about to speed up our pivoting process. Now hopefully we are our presentation people. We're going to put some power to our points with Microsoft PowerPoint 2019. A lot of nifty changes in there. A lot of great transitions, animations to speed up your PowerPoint making process. And it's a great, at this point, I call it a graphic design tool to help you with your presentations. Then of course we have Outlook, that thing we've been using for years to manage our, on average, what people say about 75 emails a day. Now Outlook is an email client with a bunch of nifty tools that we can use to organize, sort, alphabetize, and categorize our inbox. We're going to talk about things such as search folders and how to bring in the all-new to-do bar. Now Access, our relational database tool that Microsoft has to offer, is a great tool to go ahead and store and analyze data for some scopes to where we can go ahead and create forms, reports, and databases in itself, and there are a few nifty features that have been upgraded inside of Access 2019. Now that's not all in store for us here. I'm just going to do a quick little overview of a few other select tools from the Office suite that we have available. Now this is Faz Kareem with Learnit. I'm pretty excited to get started. Now let's go ahead and start talking about Office 2019 and see all these nifty features we have that we didn't in Office 2010. So coming from Office 2010 is a pretty big jump. Now I want to go ahead and point out, when I was using Office back in the day, I'd click in Word, I'd click on Excel, or PowerPoint, and instantly it'd load me up a presentation or a document or an Excel spreadsheet. Now it doesn't do that anymore, you're going to notice. Now if I go ahead and choose to open up Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint, it's actually going to present us this brand new screen. Now this screen was developed in Office 2013, and there is a special name for it. It's called the Start Screen. Now I always like to point out there's about 3 different uses that we can use this Start Screen for that was available to us in 2013 and up. Now with that being said, let's start talking about these 3 different use cases. Now the very first use case that I want to point out to everybody, I'll do them in blue since we're talking about Word, is the ability to go ahead and access your templates. Now a template is a pre-formatted Word document, presentation, or Excel workbook that you chose to save, so that way you can start from that base as opposed to starting from a blank document. I've seen a lot of people do this for their newsletters or their Excel templates for their budgets. Now with that being said, that's just one use of the Start Screen, a quick way to access your built-in templates and your custom templates. Now use number 2 of this Start Screen actually has to do with the files you've already been working on. Now use number 2 has to do with our recent section. I just want to point out, if you've recently opened up a presentation, an Excel workbook, or a PowerPoint, you can go ahead and quickly access that because you've recently opened it. So that's going to go ahead and be use number 2 there. A spot for your brand new files, your templates, a good starting base. And then use number 2 is your pre-existing files in case you want to continue on the work. Now, use number 3 is kind of interesting, because I see a lot of people on their desktop is just cluttered with all their files, and it's kind of hard to find things. Now, use number 3, I'll go ahead and do that one in red there, is actually our pinned area. Now, I just want to point out that if you have a certain document or presentation or Excel workbook, you can go ahead and pin that to this area. Like, for example, my Compatibility 3 that I just recently opened up. I can go ahead and hover over to it and choose to pin that item into my pinned area there. Therefore, I can go ahead and just have a few documents, a few presentations, and a few Excel workbooks that I can quickly access from the start of the software. Hence the name, the start screen. So, Office 2019 does have a new area. It's called the start screen. Don't be alarmed, it's also available inside of Microsoft Excel or inside of PowerPoint, whatever one that we use here. I went ahead and selected a blank document. Now, even still, coming from 2010, things look a little bit different. I mean, even at this point, the logos have changed slightly. Now, with that being said, they're still the same tools that we know and love, with a lot of great enhancements that we have to use. Go ahead and take a good look at those logos there, the Word, Excel, and the PowerPoint logos. They have a slight little U-Haul. So does the entire interface. Now, you're going to notice since about 2007, they've called the top part of your Office products. There's a special name for it. Hopefully we know about it. It's okay if we don't. It's called the ribbon. It's been around since 2007. Now, this ribbon interface, it has something called tabs. Like I have the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Draw tab. And you're going to notice that there's kind of like a separation going on, and that each one of these tabs have something called command groups. Now, I want to point out that all of your tools that you use typically are going to be inside of the tabs, organized into separate command groups. I've met a lot of people using Office products, and now they're flustered. Like, there's so many tools that I'm kind of getting lost in finding where all the tools are. So in 2016, they added in a search mechanism. It was previously called Tell Me What You Want to Do with a light bulb. Now they just call it Search. I want to go ahead and point out that all of the tools in the ribbon interface can be searched with keywords. So if you want to increase the font size and you forgot that it's in the Home tab, you can go ahead and type up there the Tell Me What You Want to Do or the Search, and you can just use the item from there, the Increase Font Size button. To where if I have a word and I have it selected, I can actually choose to increase the font size from the search. Quick little thing for those tools that I don't know exactly where it is, I can quickly just use it and not worry about figuring out the whole interface while I'm just trying to do a quick little tool that I use once a month or so. So besides that, the ribbon hasn't changed too much, but there's a very interesting area right next to our account name that I want to point out. I'll go ahead and do it in green. Now you're going to notice there's a box and an arrow inside that box. Now I want to point out these are called the ribbon display options. Now with these ribbon display options, I just want to point out that the ribbon can change the way it's viewed on your Office products. I'm going to go up to my ribbon display options and change it to auto hide the ribbon. Now you're going to notice that a lot of my toolbars went away there. But as soon as I go ahead and come back, I can go ahead and choose Show Tabs and Commands. It's very important to know that this is possible, so you're not getting alarmed when this happens to you. Word has an all-new and improved Track Changes. You can head on over to your Review tab, over to the Tracking Command group, and if you want to mark all the revisions being made, you can turn on Track Changes. From that point forward, it will go ahead and document all the changes that are being made to this document here and all the edits that are being made. I'm going to go ahead and make this very first sentence bold. And let's go ahead and document that right there. Fast Kareem formatted it font bold. Now it actually tracks all of our changes, even if I were to go ahead and actually delete a certain paragraph. Or if I were to go ahead and get a certain paragraph and cut it out and maybe paste it somewhere else. Now, things are looking pretty nice, but as you can see, as we start adding in more and more edits, things start getting a little busy. It's starting to get real messy actually here. Here, I'll make this one bold too, the very first sentence. Now, with that being said, Microsoft Word introduced what they call a simple markup mode, where you can head over to your Review tab, and instead of using all markup from the tracking command group, you can switch to simple markup. Or you can go ahead and just click on that gray bar there, which will go ahead and switch it to simple markup for you, to where you can go ahead and read your document, see if it's all right, and once it comes time to go ahead and make those changes, or accept or reject the document changes, you can go ahead and use what they call the Review pane from the tracking command group. Now I'm going to go ahead and start up from the top over here, and right over here, videos provide a powerful way. I'm going to go ahead and start out with that very first change there. I went to the Changes command group and I hit Next. Now I have two choices. I can go ahead and accept or reject those changes. I'm going to go ahead and choose to accept this change because I like that look with the first sentence bold. Now we did delete a paragraph over here, and it's actually telling me the timestamp. I'm actually going to decide to keep that. I'm going to choose to reject that change, and it comes right back. I don't want to be inconsistent. I'm going to go ahead and accept the bold sentence there. I'll probably have to make that one bold in just a second. Let me do that since we undeleted that paragraph. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and accept that change there. Now for this paragraph over here that I cut out of the bottom and moved up top, I'm going to go ahead and accept that change. And I'm going to leave that bold and I'm going to accept it. Oh, I have one leftover change that I made there. I added in a space when I was moving around. Let me go ahead and reject that change there. And now letting me know that we've completed all the track changes and there's no comments in my document. I can go ahead and turn off my review pane. And if I'm done making changes, I can turn off my track changes if need be. Pretty cool. A great way to make collaboration easy in your Office products is to use comments. Now, comments have a variety of ways to use them, but you can specifically mention a piece of text and leave your comment about it. Like for example, if we want to let people know that we like to leave the first sentence bold to make the topic stand out, we can go ahead and highlight that sentence there and head over to our Review tab. And we can go ahead and add in a comment. Now, if your file is on OneDrive, you can specifically mention people that you're sharing the file with, sending them an alert about the comment. Just know that you can add comments, and they go ahead and show up across your documents. Here we go, I'll add a comment right over here. I think this should have been a separate paragraph. Once this file is on OneDrive, we can use something called specifically mentioning people, where we can go ahead and mention a specific name. And if we need to, we can automatically share that file directly with them and give them access to it and let them view our comments. Pretty cool. Now keep in mind, once you do have comments and it comes time to actually view those comments, you can head over to your Comments command group from the Review tab and turn on Show Comments. Now you can go ahead and start out with the very top there. And keep in mind, if you need to keep the comments as documentation, you can go ahead and just respond to them by hitting Reply. And choose Resolve. I can also choose to go up here and delete the comment, or delete all the comments in the document once I'm done and finalized. I'm going to go over to this comment over here and reply, pretending like I'm someone else. Nope, I think it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and resolve that there. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the comments pane. And before you do send this file to a finalized client or a front-facing sample, we can go ahead and choose to go ahead and delete all the comments from this document if we don't want them being left over. And they're gone. So, comments goes pretty well with sharing files, letting people know why you made that change or what your thought process was. Seems like a pretty nice situation to get your communication across and collaboration. Something to be cautious about migrating from an older version over to a newer environment in your Office product is the compatibility mode. Now, a lot of your documents that you're building or generating from reporting databases or websites typically have a .doc extension since they were made such long ago. I do want to point out, since we're now opening up these files in a newer environment, you're going to notice that the top is going to mention that it's in compatibility mode. You're going to notice that certain features are going to automatically be grayed out. Online video, my math equations, my icons, my 3D models. Now, if you try to use these features, even some of them that are there, like Smart Art, will present you the older version. That doesn't mean you can't use the new features. I just want to point out that you're going to have to convert these files, which we'll talk about in just a second. So now that we see compatibility mode up top, I do want to point out there might be a situation to where you might see a lot of new features being used in a document. Like, for example, I'm using a sunburst chart here. This wasn't available in older versions of Microsoft Word. I'm actually using that new math equation feature to where I can go ahead and insert my math equations and build them out piece by piece, and also save them into a library. I'm even using a shadow effect. I have an anchoring, some layout options for how my image interacts with the text. Now, all of these features weren't around in the older versions of Word. And I do want to point out that if you want to check to see if you're using these new features and how it will be affected, you can use the Microsoft Word compatibility checker in case you're setting it to a client and you're unsure or you know they have an older version. Or maybe your colleagues and the migration's yet to be complete, and half the department's on 2010 still and half the department's on 2019. Now, I want to go ahead and point out, when I go ahead and click on the File tab over there, you're going to notice that there's an Info area there. Info. Another name for the File tab is the Backstage view. Now, from here, I can go ahead and check for issues. I can inspect the document and run my compatibility checker. I can go ahead and choose what versions of Microsoft Word I want to compare it to. I typically just do all three to be sure. And it lets me know what new features I've been using and what it's going to kind of do to them once my client receives it. So it's saying equations will be converted to images, positions might change, and the chart will be replaced with a picture. Now, keep in mind that when your client does receive it, it'll be in a different format, and I just want to show you how these objects will look on that older system that they opened it with. That's the same file I'm about to open up, but with an older file type. And you're going to notice that positioning has changed. And a lot of that little border and that shadow effect kind of has gone away. My math equation can no longer be saved. It's just an image, kind of blurry one for that matter. And my chart can no longer be filtered, edited, and manipulated like the chart tool. It's just a picture now. So keep in mind, with the compatibility mode, we can always go ahead and go to the Info tab and choose to convert that option. But the compatibility mode will only pop up on those files that have compatibility mode up top. So just be noticeable and be cautious if you see that up there to quickly convert that file to the newest file type. One of my new favorite features of Microsoft Excel is quick analysis. Anytime you highlight a chunk of cells, you're going to notice a little lightning bolt and a little window pop up called quick analysis. That's actually going to allow us to do a lot of the things inside of the ribbon interface a lot quicker, like conditional formatting. I can also go ahead and insert a chart, a visual representation of my data. And that's actually a combination of two different charts there. It's a line and a bar chart there, or a column chart. And we can go ahead and browse through these different options and even use the recommended charts tool, giving us a recommendation of certain charts we can use. Or we can go to all charts and select the various chart types that Microsoft Excel 2019 has to offer. Now, the quick analysis tool does save you time, and it's only available on our PC versions of Office 2019. And I can even actually calculate some totals, whether it be an average, as a row, and if I actually go ahead and browse a little further, I can actually find the column as well. Now, the quick analysis tool does save me time for these common tasks. I can even insert a spark line, which is a visual representation of the data inside of a single cell. Now, with this being said, now that we have access to the quick analysis tool, I'm going to quickly convert this information, this list they call it, into what they call a table. It's been around since 2007, but I want to point out that when you see a table, there's a brand new tool that's available inside of it. I'm going to head over to my Table Design tab, and I'm going to turn on the Tools Command Group Slicer. Now from there, I just want to point out, you can go ahead and have an on-screen visual filter, a visual filter to go ahead and filter that selected table there, as opposed to going to each one of the column headers there. I can turn on my multi-select too. Pretty cool. Another great improvement that we have is Microsoft Excel's charts. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Control and the letter A to go ahead and highlight this data and head over to Quick Analysis and take advantage of my Recommended Charts tool. Now inside of my Recommended Charts tool, it'll give me a list of charts it recommends that you might want me to use for this data set, like a clustered column to compare values across a few categories. Also has a line for the average there. Browsing through or see a stack column, but I don't have to listen to these recommendations. I can go ahead and head over to All Charts and build what we have our new chart types, starting with Tree Map, all the way down to Combo, to where we can actually add in several chart types into one chart. I'm going to go ahead and convert my March month over back to a column, and I'm going to go ahead and leave my average as a line, and I'm going to hit OK. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and insert a chart into that spreadsheet. And now you're going to notice that we have some options on a chart once it's selected. I can go ahead and remove the title from here, formatting it, and kind of clean up the grid lines, and maybe move the legend over to the top. All from the chart. If I didn't have time to do any of that, I can go ahead and pick one of these predefined styles to help me do that. But I'm just going to go ahead and change the color over here to monochromatic green for Excel. I'm going to go ahead and point out that we also have a filter option that allows us to filter the chart and apply that filter, clearing off the legend and the chart's value of that month. Pretty cool, pretty nifty. I'm going to go ahead and select this chart. I'm going to right click it for that matter, and I'm going to go ahead and move this chart. I'm going to right click it and I'm going to hit Move Chart. And I'm just going to move it onto its own sheet. That way, in case I need to go ahead and print that, it's nice and large on its own sheet for analysis. A lot of people have to deal with certain text strings that they have to put together inside of two cells and conjoin certain data points. Like for example, if we have to put a data a first name and a last name and create these columns, typically people would do that by using a function called left, right, or mid, or they'd use a function called text to columns inside of the data tab, to where it lets them split up certain cells based off a value or a width. Now we go ahead and have a new tool. It's pretty fast. It's pretty flashy too. Now what I mean by that is if you go ahead and give it an example of what you want to do, like I'm going to go ahead and set Adam there, and I'm going to go to a new cell. Now, if I don't want to start continuing typing in the rest of these names here, I can go ahead and head over to my Data tab. And there's a nifty tool in town, a pretty flashy one if you ask me. It's called Flash Fill. Now, Flash Fill does have a keyboard shortcut for the Control and the letter E, to where you can go ahead and select that. And it'll go ahead and repeat the pattern, which is extracting the first word of every single cell to the column to the right. I'm going to go ahead and click on Flash Fill there. And I'm also going to go ahead and extract the last names. And hit enter and click on Flash Fill there. Now if you do need to add in extra characters, we can do that as well. And I can hit Control and the letter E to go ahead and do that. Flash Fill also works with inconsistencies like letters and numbers. It will extract just the letters and it knows the difference between the numbers. I can go ahead and just do that and grab the company names out of email addresses by hitting Control E once I give it an example. And a little outdated since there is a new phone number data type, but we can go ahead and do this with a list of phone numbers if we need to. And if we ever need to make a change and update the phone number or make the formatting a little bit different for our phone numbers, just fix the first one and the rest of them will follow, like so. Flash Fill is pretty nifty. It was around in 2013. And it's inside of your data tools, inside of your data tab there. I do love Flash Fill, and I usually use the shortcut Control E to trigger that. PowerPoint 2019 has some great ways to go ahead and keep your presentation organized and to keep your audience engaged. Now, with that being said, I want to point out a lot of larger presentations are kind of difficult to navigate through. And unless you've made it, you don't know exactly where everything is. I do want to point out there is a new feature called Zoom that helps you link to other points of your presentation and actually building a summary page or a summary slide that you can use as a table of contents during your presentation. I'm going to go ahead and over to my Insert tab up top here, and I'm going to go to the Links command group in PowerPoint, and I'm going to go access the Zoom option, so I can go ahead and create a summary Zoom. Now, summary Zoom will go ahead and let me select what slides I want to include in that summary, and I'll go ahead and do all 3. And it allows me to go ahead and essentially build my summary slide at the very top of my presentation. Now that I see this over here, I want to go ahead and point out that you can also create single hyperlinks to one slide as opposed to a summary section. If you want to go ahead and go back to the front of your presentation once you're at the end of it, you can go ahead and create a zoom, and you can do a slide zoom there. And you can just go ahead and link it back to the title page and hit insert. Now, my favorite is actually changing the icon by right-clicking and going to change image. Now, Microsoft does have a ton of icons that we can choose from that they're constantly updating. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a picture of home there. And I will find a house. There we go. And I'll insert that in. So in the middle of our presentation, if we need to go back to home, we can give that a click and it'll take us back to the start of our presentation. Pretty nifty. Now, PowerPoint 2019 does have some great tools to edit images. Now, a lot of images that I see are great, but sometimes they have a background which you don't need. What if I just wanted this airplane here? Now, a lot of people will search for images without a background. Those aren't too easy to find on the internet, so you can make yourself one. I'm going to go ahead and select the image and go to the Picture Format tab that appears, and head over to the very left-hand side in the Adjust command group and choose Remove Background. Now from here, I can go ahead and choose what areas I want to keep by selecting the quick areas that I want to keep there. I want to keep that nose, of course. And I can go ahead and mark the areas that I want to remove. Now, once I'm happy with these changes, I can go ahead and hit Keep Changes, and boom, remove the image. To where I can go ahead and have a background removal process if need be. Now, don't worry if we do need to change this image back to the original, because I can go ahead and select the image and go to the Picture Format and hit Reset Picture, and my image background appeared again. A great feature in PowerPoint is the ability to screen record. You can go ahead and insert a clipping of a screen recording of your computer. And from there, you can choose if you want your mouse to show up, your mouse pointer in the final edit, or if you want your audio to show up. Now, it doesn't have to be the entire screen. You can go ahead and reselect a very specific area on your screen, and when you're happy, you can hit record. And you have about 3 seconds to ready yourself. The video will go ahead and show up in PowerPoint. And that's good enough for me. Pretty cool. Migrating over from Outlook 2010 over to the newest version has quite a few differences. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about some of these differences and some of the advantages of using the newest version of Outlook. Now, one thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention is in our older versions of Outlook, we used to have a special area called the To-Do bar. Now, the To-Do bar would go ahead and show you your calendar, and it'll go ahead and show you your task list, as well as your favorite contacts. Now, I want to go ahead and point out that the To-Do bar can be added back to the Outlook interface by heading over to the View tab up top. Now, inside of the View tab, I want to go ahead and point out that we have a Layout command group. Well, you'll notice that we have an option for the To-Do bar. I'm going to go ahead and give a click on the To-Do bar, and I'm going to add my calendar there. I'm going to go ahead and also add in my People pane, as well as my task list. So with that being said, we have the ability to go ahead and bring back our To-Do bar. And if we need to, we can go ahead and customize it by extending it a little bit, making it nice and large, and even closing out some of the areas of our To-Do bar. go ahead and play around with your to-do bar and add it back from the View tab of Outlook. And do notice how it's not there by default anymore. In Outlook 2010 it was, but now we can go ahead and bring in the to-do bar. Alrighty, another very interesting area of Outlook 2019 that has gotten an upgrade is the ability to go ahead and create search folders and alphabetize your folder pane. Right over here, I have my folder pane. And it's kind of interesting because inside the folder pane, we have all of our folders and our inboxes. And you're also going to notice that we have a folder tab up top. A folder tab. I'm going to give that a click. Folder tab. Now, one thing I want to point out is you can go ahead and alphabetize your entire folder list when it comes time to organizing those emails. I'm going to go ahead and go to my folder tab and just notice that there's a cleanup command group. And we get to go ahead and alphabetize all our folders from A to Z. When you give it a click, it's going to go ahead and show your folders in alphabetical order. But don't worry, once you're done, you can turn it back off and it'll go back into that original order you had it at. Now, this is great to go ahead and organize emails, but something new to Outlook is the ability to use search folders. Now, a search folder is a filtered view of a certain criteria, whether it be from an individual or a certain subject line, that's going to filter your inbox and only show you messages that match that criteria. It is not going to move that message out of your inbox, but it's just going to add an additional folder, a filtered folder, to go ahead and show you those emails. I like to build search folders just for maybe my 2 or 3 people that I'm in contact with more than others. I'm going to go ahead and create a new search folder here. And for my new search folder, I'm going to go ahead and add a search folder for mail from and to specific people for my contacts. And choose. I'm going to go ahead and pick my good old buddy here, Michael. And I'm going to go ahead and build a search folder to keep all of our emails, whether it's from or to Michael, in one unique spot, as well as my inbox. I'm going to hit OK. Now that I've chosen Michael here, I'm going to hit OK, and it's automatically going to go ahead and it's going to add all of Michael's emails and display them to me inside of the search folders area of my folder pane. Now, something I highly recommend for our search folders is to do a right click on the search folder and add it to favorites. That way you can have your search folders right up top so you can go ahead and see that important person's message, which I have one unread one so far. So, to summarize, your folder pane has a U-Haul a little bit. We can go ahead and alphabetize it. And if we have certain people we're in contact with and we want to have a filtered view of our inbox, search folders, it's a nifty little tool to go ahead and not only does it build you a filtered view of your inbox, it also keeps the message inside of your inbox so you don't have to move things around. Pretty nifty. We all requested it, and now it's finally here. In Outlook 2019, you can add up to 3 different time zones now. 3 different time zones to your calendar. Now, a lot of people wonder how they actually can add the time zones, but I want to go ahead and point out that time zones will display itself inside the day view and the schedule view as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and access my file, and I'm going to go over to the options of Outlook so that I can add additional time zones to my calendar. Now, inside of my Outlook options there, that I found from the File tab and I went down to Options, I can go ahead and access my calendar settings. Now, inside of the calendar, I can do things like changing the hours of my work time, as well as modifying the default duration or the reminder time, which is about 15 minutes by default, but I leave it for 30 minutes just to give me some time to get ready for my meeting. If you scroll down to the bottom of your calendar settings, you will see an area for time zones. Now, inside of this time zone area, you can go ahead and label your different time zones, and you can choose which ones you want to display. I'll show all 3 of them this time. Now, with that being said, I want to go ahead and point out that you can also show the weather on the very bottom. And that's something I've turned off just to keep things simple, but you can show the weather on your calendar for the next 3 days, up to 4 different locations. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. There's my 3 time zones, and there's my weather loading up. Things are looking smooth. Go ahead and try accessing your calendar and going back to the file and going to the options there. Playing around with your calendar settings, see if you can add in some time zones. See if you can go ahead and access the weather or turn it off if you don't like it there to clean up that interface. Access 2019 does have some small upgrades that save some time when organizing and sorting through the property sheet. I want to go ahead and point out that Over here inside of the Design tab for our report here, you're going to notice that there's a property sheet inside of Tools. Now we've had this, but there has been a nice upgrade. We have an All tab now. Now in this All tab, we can go ahead and see all of the fields, all the properties there. We can go ahead and alphabetize them there, whether it be in descending or ascending order, quickly saving us time to see all of our fields, all of our properties across all of the different areas there. Another great new feature that has been added into Access 2019 is the ability to go ahead and add in a large number data type. Now this data type is called a large number, and it's compatible with the SQL Server's big int data type. It's actually for very large numbers. In our experience, it is needed sometimes, and it's nice to know that we have that large number that translates to the big int SQL Server data type. This data type is not compatible with earlier versions of Microsoft Access. Do you still want to add this? Sure. Go ahead and try accessing your data types and noticing that you have a large number, which translates to the big int in SQL Server, and won't be accessible on older Access data files as well. Now this next new feature in Access 2019 is an old-time friend that was removed and now brought back. Inside of our External Data tab, under the Export command group, you're going to notice that we have an option for more. And I want to go ahead and point out that besides the ability to go ahead and export for Word, SharePoint list, dBASE database, and HTML documents, they have returned. It has returned the dBASE file. Now this feature allows you to link and import from dBASE files, the .dbf file. Now if you need to link to a system written in dBASE, you now can. You could have in previous versions as well, but they took it away. And you can actually access it as if the table was stored in Access. And if you want, you can extract the data permanently out of that dBASE file as well. Pretty cool. Great. So now that we've seen the basics of our Office suite, talked about Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and we learned about Outlook, as well as the database tool Access. Now, with that being said, I want to point out that I'm on a very special website over here called office.com. I want to point out that you do have the ability to access a few additional tools in your Office suite, like Microsoft SharePoint. Microsoft SharePoint is like a company intranet. You can go ahead and control and keep data from people or give access to files and company data to certain individuals. Now, each SharePoint site that we build can have multiple subsites associated to it, and we can store our content into document libraries, PowerPoint libraries, task lists, essentially building an intranet that we have access to. It's nice to know that SharePoint is available, where we can access our frequent sites that we all have together. Now, with Microsoft SharePoint here, we have the ability to go ahead and create sites, whether it's a team site or a communication site. And from there, we can go ahead and add in individual apps, calendars that our department can have access to. It does require setup, but once it's set up correctly and the permissions are set, it does become a pretty powerful intranet for your department or your overall organization. Now, I want to go ahead and point out that this is SharePoint Online. It's one of the Office apps that we have available for us. And to finish off, I want to go ahead and point out that SharePoint is the underlying mechanism that works for Microsoft Teams, which is a business collaboration tool, allowing us to do instant messaging, host meetings, as well as share files across the team. How it works is it uses SharePoint as its engine. We will take a closer look at Microsoft Teams in just a second, but it is a very nifty idea or understanding to know that SharePoint is Microsoft Teams, and that Teams is just a front-facing wrapper, so to speak, to use SharePoint. Microsoft Teams was a software that was released on November 2nd, 2017, and it actually used a big aspect of SharePoint under the hood to do what it needs to do. It's a business communication platform, allowing us to share files, communicate with one another, and schedule meetings, as well as do one-on-one chats. I'm going to go ahead and click on Teams here. It's going to load up the online version of Teams. Now I'm over here inside of my team list that I'm looking at, and I'm currently a part of one team. And my team actually has 3 different channels that I have, a general, Project X, and a private Project Z channel. Now, a team's a great spot for internal communications where you can add subjects and messages, as well as make announcements to the overall team here. Now, I want to go ahead and point out that these teams are using SharePoint under the hood. It's actually building you a SharePoint site. There's my home page for the SharePoint site, and it's just adding folders in the SharePoint site where our channels go. Now, this is going to be used to schedule and access your Outlook calendar, as well as schedule meetings. And we can go ahead and access our OneDrive accounts directly from here and view all of our files. But it'll be a great platform to go ahead and communicate with one another and talk to all of your colleagues in one centralized spot. OneDrive is a cloud service that we can load all our files to, and we can access them on our computer through the desktop app, as well as through Microsoft Teams and on the browser. Save your files here, so that way you can access them across all of your devices. I'm over here looking at my files in my OneDrive, and I can go ahead and organize my files by changing it to a compact list, making it nice and tight. I can go ahead and access my shared files, in case people are sharing certain files with me. I'm going to go ahead and go back over to my files here. I can even access my shared libraries, my SharePoint sites from OneDrive. Now from here, I want to go ahead and point out that you can create new files or even upload files by dragging and dropping them from your computer. I'm going to go ahead and build a new Word document here. Now we are using the browser version of Word, so I'm just going to quickly go in there and I'm just going to give it a name, because we can do that from the top with the browser version. And if we ever need to go back out of this file over here, I'm just going to go ahead and close back out. And I'm going to go back to my OneDrive account. I want to go ahead and point out the file is already available. Now this file is also available on my computer because I'm signed into my OneDrive account here. And there's my file, name the file, because I'm signed in. Now if I do hop over to Microsoft Teams, because Microsoft Teams does have an integration with my OneDrive, as we saw in the previous video, I want to go ahead and point out that inside of my files area, where we access our OneDrive, we can go ahead and see that same exact file ready to be shared with my team. OneDrive is a beautiful cloud service for your personal files. Think of it as a portable P drive that's very secure and only accessible to you. And it's connected to all your other Office products like Teams, SharePoint, and even Word, Excel, and PowerPoint when you go to save your files. OneDrive is a pretty nifty way to access your files across all of your devices. Microsoft Yammer. Think of it as a corporate social media. You want to be social about things, and you want to share information to large groups of people, and you want to go ahead and see the responses and reactions. Yammer is that tool. Yammer is also going to go ahead and be connected to Microsoft Teams if we want to make a connection to it to post all our Yammer posts into our teams. But Yammer is for large organizations or large groups of people, like a social media for your company here, where you can go ahead and create groups and communicate within the groups and talk to one another. Now, Yammer is totally secure and only available to within the organization, so you can safely share your files and communicate with one another here. I do want to point out there is no desktop app for Yammer, neither Microsoft SharePoint, but they're available online. Microsoft has a wide range of tools for productivity. You can access apps from the app launcher on office.com. But there are some tools that we want to bring to our attention more than others that we use quite frequently. Now I do want to point out SharePoint is going to be our intranet. We can use our instant messaging and our meetings using Microsoft Teams, and we can be social with Yammer. Now I want to point out Microsoft Teams will allow us to go ahead and record our meetings, and any video recording or any video that you want to share across your organization. I want to go ahead and point out that you can use Microsoft Stream for that. Stream allows you to build groups, and you get to go ahead and share certain videos where they can make comments, as well as bookmark certain features from those videos. Now the powerful thing is any meeting that you record inside of Teams will automatically upload itself to Stream and securely store itself, and you can also share it within the organization. I'm going to go ahead and click on Microsoft Stream here to give a little tour of that. So all your Microsoft Teams meetings will automatically be downloaded here. And over here we can go ahead and access the home page of Stream. Now, it's showing us some typical things that we might want to take a look at within our company. And I want to go ahead and point out that we also have the ability to go ahead and access our content, whether it be our videos, the groups that have access to the videos, or even channels that hold multiple groups of people have access to videos. Now over here, you can go ahead and access your meetings as well. And you're going to notice all of your Microsoft Teams meetings will be available here. And any other videos you choose to upload. Now this is great because with these videos that we have, we can go ahead and access them. And it's kind of like YouTube if you think about it. If we're using Microsoft Forms, we can add a survey to this, and we can also like the video, as well as see how many people viewed it, and take a look at other related videos to this while making comments. This is all secure, this is all safe. That also is available only online. Now the reason why this is important to know about now is all of our meetings actually get recorded if we choose to record them into Microsoft Stream by default, where we can access our videos. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Office homepage here. And that's just a little overview of what Stream is going to do and how you can access your content, like your pre-recorded videos or your corporation training files or anything in terms of video content. Now, a great tool that we have available that's been around is Microsoft OneNote. Now, OneNote is a note-taking tool, which essentially lets you build a virtual notebook. Now this notebook will allow you to go ahead and store what they call is sections. And we can go ahead and see that right over here. We have one section there. And we can go ahead and inside of these sections keep what they call as pages. And we can go ahead and add in pages from the right-hand side. So if you want to keep a virtual notebook of all your content, like for example, you want to keep one for your meeting notes, we can go ahead and do that. Now, OneNote is great because they have a lot of virtual tools like the ability to insert page templates. I'm going to go ahead and just add in a business template here for my meeting notes. And I'm going to go ahead and choose to save that as my current template. And I'm going to save that as my custom template for meetings. And I'm going to go ahead and make that the default page for my meeting notes section there when I hit save. So at this point in time, anytime I go ahead and add a page to this section, you're going to go ahead and see my meeting notes. Or I can go ahead and give it a date and time. I can go ahead and give a location. And I can go ahead and give the agenda. Now with that being said, that's just one subject or one section of my notebook. I can go ahead and add in another section here. And maybe I want to go ahead and keep some passwords in here. I have some sensitive data there, and I just want to go ahead and keep a password. I'm going to right-click this section and set a password to this here. That way, no one can have access to this section, even if they have access to the notebook, because they don't have the password there. I'm going to lock that section. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add in a third section here and point out that even OneNote has OCR now. I know most of us know the snipping tool shortcut, the Windows key, Shift, and the letter S there. I'm going to go ahead and use that shortcut to take a picture of my drop-down list. Windows Shift S. I'm going to take a picture of this drop-down list of the font list we have. And I just want to point out that if you have an image of some sort inside of a OneNote notebook, you can right-click and choose to copy the text from the image. And you can also paste it. It does a pretty good job at extracting the text, but you might see some errors. Keep in mind you can also make the text searchable in both English, French, and Spanish. OneNote is a pretty beautiful note-taking tool. I like to call this the best of OneNote by using your meeting templates, by adding passwords and OCR recognition there. Now, OneNote is a great tool. It even can go ahead and access and store your Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, and PowerPoint presentations. It's just a matter of going ahead and accessing our notebooks that we have. If you aren't using OneNote, I highly encourage you to take a tour of what it can do for you, and I'm sure this will streamline a lot of your notes taking inside of your meetings, as well as file storage for all your larger projects. Now, Microsoft Planner is a tool that's only available online and through Microsoft Teams, but it's been out for years. It's had a mobile app, but no actual desktop app. I'm going to go ahead and go to my app launcher here, and I'm going to find Planner. And Planner actually lets us build a Kanban board to delegate tasks to our colleagues across our organization. I'm over here looking at my Planner hub, and I can see all of the plans that I'm scattered across of where I can also build my new plan. I'm going to go ahead and make this a private plan where only a few people have access to it and create that plan there. Now I want to go ahead and point out Planner lets you add tasks to cards and set due dates. Now with these due dates, you can go ahead and assign them to members of the plan. And I want to go ahead and point out that the assignee will get a notification for 7 days until the due date. And once it's late, you'll get a 7-day notification that it's late inside of your Outlook email from Planner. Now, Planner tasks are great because they're fully customizable. You can click on the card. You can even add some notes and have that displayed on the card. You can also add a checklist of items, or you can even add an attachment, whether it be a file, a link, or a file from your SharePoint site, as well as leaving some comments for the person taking the task. I can also label this as well, going ahead and organizing my task across my boards. Now this task is great, but it's currently grouped by the buckets, and that's my to-do bucket. I want to go ahead and point out that we can switch and change the way our boards assign by seeing who has a task assigned to them, versus the progress of our task, versus the due dates. Now Planner is a great Kanban board, but it also has a visual representation of the board by viewing the charts and seeing how many tasks are left, as well as a calendar. Now, something important to know about is at the end of each one of your projects or plans, you can go ahead and export that plan to Microsoft Excel as a CSV file to go ahead and see who has completed what and what never got completed, as well as you can add this plan, this calendar, and publish it to your Outlook calendar, so you have access to this calendar from Outlook. Alrighty, this is Fast Kareem with Learnit, and I want to go ahead and point out this will be the end of our training video. Now, there is a plethora of tools to use in Office 2019, and there will always be more and more tools coming out. But this is a good base to get us started, understanding how our logos actually look. They look kind of different, and what tools we can use to quickly enhance our speed in our day-to-day work. I hope this video was helpful,